Hey, what's up guys? Devin here with Backcountry Exposure. I want to talk about something that has been on my mind pretty frequently lately, and that has to do with the fact that if I had never started backpacking when I did and have all of the years of backpacking experience and such that I have for the past 20 plus years, how would I do things differently? And what, if I was just barely getting started, some of the things that I would change or would like to know that would be something that I would want to get the types of experiences that I'm currently having on the trips that I'm going on. And so let's talk about that. I've got a few things to talk about, but what I want to really emphasize though, and this is kind of a disclaimer because it's important that a lot of times just spending time in the backcountry and doing things results in the education aspect of being able to know how to enjoy your time in the backcountry more and more than doing this like whole method of research and just trying to get educated in things before you go out, and that can like prolong your experience. I hope that makes sense, but I don't want to discredit the aspect of, if you don't know anything, how valuable it is for you to spend time in the backcountry if you've never done that before and don't necessarily have the education. Ignorance is not necessarily a bad thing. It's when you don't use proper common sense and think through like decision-making processes that get you into like troublesome kind of situations. But let's get to the point of this video. Now, if I was to start backpacking now as an adult, how would I do things differently than if I didn't have all of the years of experience that I do have under my belt? And the first thing that I would do is I would take the advice from people who are more experienced than I am. I would humble myself and just say, hey, you are an expert or you have experience. That's something that I can rely on and can help me know how to have a better, more enjoyable time in the backcountry and also keep myself safer. That's really, really important in this kind of conversation that we're having. So I would take advice from people that are more experienced than I am. The next thing that I would do is I would just like not care so much about what pieces of gear I'm taking with me on the trail and what other people think about me and what I'm carrying. I feel like this is something that social media has created, is if you don't have a certain piece of gear with you that you're not quite up to par with everybody else, or if you're not carrying this tent or you don't have this specific fabric, then you're not up to par with other people. And to be honest, getting out of the backcountry is a personal thing and you should treat it that way. And you should carry whatever pieces of gear and your style that is also respectful to the environment and the ecosystems and things that you're going to be spending time in. But I would care a lot less about what people think about the 5-pound tent that I'm carrying with me, or this big heavy stove, or this big frying pan. I would just not care that much. And you shouldn't care that much if you are just getting started. Take what makes sense for you into the backcountry. The next thing that I would do is I would spend a little bit more time researching gear when I'm getting ready to purchase a new item and replace an item or add it to my backpacking system, because that's going to make a huge difference in just whether or not that piece of gear makes sense for your environment, for the types of trips that you're going on, and does it fit within your budget? That's another big, really important thing to consider. Don't just go to REI. I mean, you could do this. Absolutely, you could do this. But don't just go to like REI or some retailer or even Amazon and just like click, 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 and like throw everything into a shopping cart and call it good. Like, spend some time asking questions, taking advice from other people, and that will help you make better decisions on getting the best gear possible for the types of trips and experiences that you want to have in the backcountry. Another thing that I would do is I would definitely educate myself more than, well, I should say I would educate myself sooner than I had in certain aspects that would allow me to be more confident in the backcountry. And namely, that has to do more so with the fact of like first aid. And I have a wilderness first responder certification, and that certification alone has been more or less a game changer in my risk management decision making in the backcountry and just my confidence levels in the backcountry. It's so important. And I would read books. I would just really try to get educated on how to be more confident and just understand how things in the backcountry work. This isn't a requirement. This is just something that, as I've spent more time educating myself, I mean, I have a bachelor's degree in outdoor recreation management, so my brain kind of like naturally goes to this, but I feel like outdoor education is really critical. It's an important aspect of spending time in the backcountry. It's so that we can leave no trace, take care of the places that we travel to, and be able to help others also know how to take care of the places that we travel and recreate in. The last thing that I want to talk about has to do with just trying to get out on as many trips as humanly possible to spend as much time in the backcountry as possible. I find now that I'm in my early 30s that it's harder when I've got 2 young daughters and a family to take care of and a full-time job, and I'm doing YouTube, that it's like, how do I find time to get out into the backcountry? And it's easy to like think back like retrospectively and be like, yeah, if I was single, I'd be doing this all the time. But I really would change that. If I was single again, man, I would be out as much as humanly possible and just trying to explore as many amazing places as possible. So really, the whole moral of this is I want to have awesome outdoor experiences. That's what I want to have. But guys, I'd be curious to know, what are some things that, if you, now knowing what you know in your education in backpacking and your experiences in the backcountry, what would you do differently if you had gotten started today and you weren't really educated and didn't know where to start? What would you do differently knowing what you know now? Leave it down in the comments. I'd be really interested to have this conversation with you guys. But I appreciate you watching. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you on the next video. See you later.